A writer wrote this. He said the room is still and the bed is a magnet. Your thumb knows snooze by heart. No tutorial needed. That muscle memory is not a flaw. It's a sign that your brain is efficient. It learned a loop and it runs it perfectly. But tonight you moved the alarm by the door. That one small change means that when the first beep lands, the story you usually tell yourself has to sprint to catch up. Action happens before excuses. The room hasn't changed. The distance has. You don't need a new personality to change your morning. You don't need a miracle routine, a cold plunge, or a motivational anthem at 5 a.m. You need a nudge placed in the right spot. Think of your morning like a marble on a table. You're not carving the marble into a statue at dawn. You're just tilting the table so the marble starts to roll in the direction you already wanted to go. That tilt is distance, not discipline. Picture the first seconds. One beep and 20 explanations load up in your head like tabs in a browser. Too dark, too cold, too late to start right, too early to start well. Those explanations are clever. They sound like logic. They feel like safety. But they all have the same mission. Keep you in the warm loop, you know. When the alarm sits on your nightstand, your thumb can complete that mission in a single blind tap. When the alarm waits by the door, your body needs to move before the story locks in. You are not forcing yourself into heroics. You are making the first step annoying to avoid and easy to attempt. Annoying to avoid is powerful. And yes, let's say this out loud. Not everyone's morning looks like a commercial. Maybe you're a night shift nurse, a new parent, a student who studies late, or a brain wired for fireworks at midnight and fog at 9. Nothing is wrong with you. You don't need to join a club that celebrates suffering. The idea here is humble and kind. Suit the world around your real life so your next choice is a little lighter to make. That's it. Distance beats willpower because willpower is a battery. It drains. Distance is a slope. Slopes keep working even when you're not looking at them. When you move the alarm away, even a few steps, you lower the activation energy for movement and raise it for avoidance. Your future self, sleepy, grumpy, a bit dramatic, gets support from your past self. Past you left a breadcrumb trail. Bed rug, shoes, door left slightly open. You don't need to feel inspired to follow crumbs. Let's talk about the story that usually grabs the mic. If I can't do it perfectly, I shouldn't try at all. That story is charming. It promises quality, but it still starts. A start that is small and very real beats a perfect plan that only lives in your head. The first step isn't a ceremony, it's a click. Click foot on the floor, click hand on the frame, click silence because the alarm is finally in your fingers. That's 3 clicks. Notice none of them require a new identity. They require a tiny distance and a gentle agreement with yourself. 1 step, not 10. You know what happens next. Maybe you're thinking, I've tried tricks before. I still end up scrolling in bed. Of course you do. Your bed is a powerful laboratory. It manufactures convincing reasons. So let's adjust the lab's equipment, not your belief in yourself. Move what whispers to you. If the phone is the siren, park the siren farther from the pillow. If the lamp invites scrolling, put the switch near the door. If your brain negotiates, give it a prop to hold while it talks, a pair of shoes waiting right by the door, laces open like they've been expecting you. You don't need to win the whole morning. You need to win the first 20 seconds. A lot of advice screams. It says you must want it more, grind harder, be the kind of person who loves discomfort. That might work for movie trailers. It doesn't always work for human mornings. Love can be loud, but care can be quiet. Quiet care looks like this. You set up the room so the version of you with 0 poetic thoughts can still succeed. You don't need motivation. You need a map you can follow while half asleep. Bed rug, shoes, door. There is a relief waiting in tiny changes. Relief is underrated. We remember the hustle montages. We forget the sigh that happens when something finally feels easier. Relief is proof that your environment is doing some of the lifting. When you step toward the door before the debate starts, your nervous system gets a different message. Oh, this day is moving. You are no longer trying to light a fire with damp matches. You are riding a spark you placed yesterday. So it's 6 a.m. and you're awake. What now? Breathe. Feel the pressure in your chest lift slightly. Watch it rise and fall like a tide. What if this is the only thing you do? Some days that's enough. You don't have to love your morning. You just have to survive it. Look around you. Where is the nearest exit? Grab a pillow, rest your head, consider going back to sleep. There are mornings when you wake up in the middle of a storm, mental or actual, and everything feels heavier than usual. On those days, distance, not discipline, is even more important. Distance is merciful. It doesn't accuse. It doesn't lecture. It says, let's just go touch the doorknob. That's the whole assignment. Touch the doorknob and see what happens. Maybe that's all you do. Maybe you stand there for a breath and walk back to bed. If that's what your body honestly needs, that choice is allowed. You don't lose your dignity by listening to yourself. The aim is not punishment. The aim is alignment, a room that quietly points you toward your life. There is also the matter of identity. We love the idea of morning people and night people, as if one is morally superior. But identity is often a lagging indicator. You do an action often, your brain names you after it. Here's a gentler sequence. Do one small action, then another, and let your brain update your name over time. I'm the person who can take the first step. That's a good, honest name. It doesn't brag, it reminds. Let's imagine a conversation between your present self and your future self. Present you as tucked in and persuasive. Future you wants the day to feel less chaotic. If they could shake hands, what would they agree on? They would agree to remove the fastest exit from effort, snooze within thumb, reach, and replace it with a tiny, respectful delay. Not a wall, just a hallway. The hallway is 5 steps long. Past you built it. Present you walks it. Future you says thank you later in a voice you can actually hear. A calmer afternoon, a task finished, a little more space in your head. If you share a space with someone, this can still work. You can ask for small courtesies without turning your room into a boot camp. I'm testing a thing, can we leave the alarm on the dresser by the door? Or, I want to try putting my phone on the hallway table. If it rings, I'll grab it fast. If it doesn't, I'll meet you in the kitchen. You're not imposing a religion, you're running an experiment. Experiments invite collaboration because they end with discovery, not judgment. The same kindness applies if you live with kids or pets or an unpredictable schedule. Maybe your first step can't be immediate because tiny humans need you, or because your nights are chopped into pieces. In those realities, distance is still your ally. The door might be metaphorical. Text a friend the word up, open a window, drink water, start a playlist that tells your brain, we're moving. The rule survives. Action before the story. The action can be small enough to do while holding a baby or answering an early message. The point is not how impressive it looks. The point is that you began. You will notice something if you try this for a handful of days. The alarm becomes less of an enemy and more of a baton in a relay. You meet it at the door, take it, and pass it to the next thing that carries you for a few steps. A kettle, a shower, sunlight on your face, shoes by the mat. None of these are achievements. They're handoffs. Handoffs add up to movement. Movement adds up to mood. And if you miss a day, if your thumb finds snooze and your legs refuse the hallway, you are still you. Nothing essential breaks. The room will still be there tomorrow, set up like a quiet friend with a suggestion, not a scold. Shame is a terrible engineer. It builds heavy machines that make people sit still. We are not building those. We are placing light rails and friendly signs. Sometimes you will feel the itch to add more goals, more rules, more morning trophies. Please keep it simple. Complexity excites today and betrays tomorrow. 1 knob turned is better than 6 knobs imagined. If you feel the urge to decorate this idea with hacks, smile and breathe. Return to the plain version. Put distance between your thumb and snooze. Let the room do a little work for you. And that is how to stop waking up early. Do you find it helpful? Share your thoughts below. By the way, why is that song stuck in my head? Okay, let's rewind this tape. You wake up. Do you get up? There's a second layer to this. Attention. The moment you are upright, your attention is up for grabs. What does that mean? That means you are primed to have someone else's story fill your mind. But you can choose whose story that will be. You can say, this story is mine. Which story is that? The one you tell yourself in the first minutes after you open your eyes. So if your phone is your first conversation, the day starts in someone else's story. If the alarm is at the door and the phone is quiet for a minute longer, you get a tiny window of unclaimed attention. Use it any way that makes you feel more like you. Stare out the window, put water on, scratch the dog, breathe. We underestimate how much a 3-minute window of unclaimed attention can change the color of a morning. Why does that window exist? Because distance made it. I want to underline something we often skip. Your body is not a machine you operate with commands, it's a companion you negotiate with. You will get more cooperation from your own system when you speak to it like it is on your team. Hey body, let's go touch the doorknob and see how it feels versus, get up you failure. Which one gets you moving faster? The alarm at the door is part of that tone. It says we planned for how you actually feel, not how a superhero feels. If you want to get really fancy, you can sprinkle in some rewards. After the first 3 minutes, whatever reward you've set up is yours. If you like metaphors, here's the only one we need today. The bed is a magnet. The door is a release. Magnets don't mean you're weak, they mean you're normal. Release doesn't make you a legend, it makes you free for a minute. Sometimes a minute is enough to change the trajectory of an hour. Hours compound. You might be wondering, how long until this feels natural? Give it a handful of tries. A handful is not a contract. It's a fair sample. Let your brain collect evidence. When the alarm is far, I tend to stand up faster. Brains love patterns. After a while, the pattern will start to feel like a truth you can rely on. That feeling is called trust in yourself. Trust grows when your environment and your choices stop fighting and start cooperating. There's also room to play. You can make the door a tiny ritual without turning it into a ceremony. A small sticker that says, unlock. A note to yourself that reads, 1 step, not 10. A shoe waiting in a way that makes you smile. These aren't superstitions, they're signals. Signals are how we talk to ourselves without a speech. They are gentle punctuation marks in our day. Let's address the fear that you'll become rigid. You won't. The rule here is flexible by design. Action before the story, tailored to your reality. If you travel, the door might be the bathroom light, the suitcase on a chair, or a glass of water by the sink. If you share a dorm, it might be a text to a friend that says, up. If you're caring for someone, it might be the first check-in. Nothing sacred breaks if the symbol changes. The wisdom stays. Put a tiny distance between you and the loop that keeps you still. If you're looking for a better morning, this is one way to get it. Start by putting the alarm far away so the sound surprises you. You get up, move to the other side of the room. Then you wait a beat before checking your phone. In that space between surprise and phone, you're in charge of yourself. The rest of your morning depends on the quality of that space. Make it yours. Move at your own speed. The trap of speeding through the morning is enticing, but it robs you of moments that could shift the day in a positive direction. Slowing down is counterintuitive, but it's how you take back control of your calendar, your energy, and even your identity. You don't need to say, I'm the kind of person who never snoozes. You can say, I'm the kind of person who puts the alarm by the door. That sentence is smaller and more accurate. It's also easier to keep true. From small, true sentences, bigger ones grow. And if this all sounds too simple to matter, notice how complicated your current loop is. The negotiations, the micro regrets, the extra stress packed into the first hour. Simplicity is not naive, it's strategic. Complexity is what keeps you under the covers while your brain performs a whole legal drama. Simplicity opens the case and asks one question. Can we put our hand on the frame? If the answer is yes, movement begins. There's a quiet joy available here. It's the joy of being on your own side. When the alarm rings at the door and you stand because that is the path of least resistance, you feel like you finally got a memo from yourself, written yesterday when you were calm and generous. It's a kind feeling. You can build a day on feelings like that. Let's talk edge cases because life has them. Like if you're a parent with an infant, you already live in a world of interrupted nights. You are doing something heroic daily. Your first step might be put feet on the floor and check on the small human, and that is absolutely enough. Or if you work nights, your morning might start at 3 p.m. The sun doesn't decide whether this works. The hallway to the alarm does. And if your inner critic starts its usual song and dance routine about how this one tea work, let it. It will finish its number. You finish making breakfast. You are both living in the same house but on different floors, and that's fine. Consider what happens to your self-talk after a week of distance. It softens. It gets briefer. The paragraphs of why you'll fail lose their weight. They are no match for a hand on a frame. That touch is evidence, and evidence reassures. It's difficult to argue with a foot on the rug. If you want a template for the sentence you can carry all day, here it is. Victory is action before the story. Action before the story in the morning looks like standing up to meet the alarm. Action before the story at lunch looks like opening the document before you reread emails. Action before the story at night looks like brushing your teeth before you debate a snack. This is not a religion, it's a rhythm. You can use it without worshiping it. When the inner critic wakes up, as it sometimes does, give it a job. Critic, please count the steps to the door. It can count to 5, then retire it. You don't need a tribunal, you need a door. You don't need a verdict, you need a hand on the frame. Even criticism can be repurposed into counting if you make the distance specific. There's a reason we return to the sentence, the room hasn't changed, the distance has. It's proof that your life is not waiting for an overhaul. You are not the renovation. You are the resident. You can move furniture. If a lamp keeps you scrolling, let it greet you later. If a charger tethers you to the pillow, tell it to work across the room. You are not failing at mornings. You are engaging with physics, the kind that lives between a thumb and a button. Let's end with a simple practice you can remember without notes. Tonight, leave one sign for tomorrow you, not 12. 1. It could be the alarm by the door. It could be shoes waiting by the mat. It could be a mug near the kettle. It could be a note that says, 1 step, not 10. When the morning arrives, in whatever shape it arrives, follow that one sign. If you follow it, the second sign is usually already in place. If it isn't, congratulate yourself for the single step and proceed at the speed of kindness. Tomorrow you might feel nothing dramatic, no fireworks, no heroic soundtrack, that's perfect. Drama is heavy. We want light. Light is portable. A portable start is one you can take anywhere, on good days, on weird days, on days when the world asks a lot of you. A portable start begins with distance, not with a declaration shouted into the dark. So, the bed is a magnet. The alarm is by the door. First beep, 20 excuses loaded. A foot finds the rug. A hand finds the frame. The room hasn't changed. The distance has. Victory is action before the story. The trick is distance, not discipline. 1 step, not 10. That was a chapter from a book. And here's something I learned writing that chapter. I thought I had to write a whole new book about how to get out of bed. But as I wrote, I realized there were pieces from other books that fit what I wanted to say. And that made me realize it's okay to quote yourself. You know, if you've got something worth saying in another book, just say it again. As long as you give yourself permission to do it.